in the second part, we will hear about 2 projects that deal with solar energy in Jordan and in Ghana. This is why we call it Africa and the Middle East. And with that, without further ado, I would hand over to Mr. Chen to present your projects and innovations, and our colleague here will open the PowerPoint presentation for us. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Axel. 女士、先生们，非常欢迎你们参加本场活动。今天我们能聚集在一起，这要感谢我们共同的主持人 Axel 及德国团队的支持。Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this important event. Firstly, I would express my deep gratitude to our lead co-organizer, Mr. Axel Paulsch, and the entire team from Germany for their unwavering support in making this event a reality.
我是陈瑞文 ，JW 生态工法发明人，我来自台湾。无论各位来自地球的哪一个角落，我深深相信，我们都有关心着地球所造成气候灾害，而这些气候灾害，却又是人类在大肆建设中所带来对环境的伤害，也就是大家熟知的有建设就有破坏，也就是城市开发的副作用。
Hello, my name is Chen, and I'm the inventor of the JW Eco-Techology. I'm from Taiwan. No matter where we come from, we all share a common concern, the challenge of the climate change. The worldwide issue has led to many climate disasters, mainly due to extensive building and urban development. As the saying goes, where there is construction, there is destruction, highlighting the negative impacts of our development.
气候紧急时代已经来临，地球的命运就掌握在各位的手上。因此 ，JW 生态工法团队在本次辩会活动上，要强烈呼吁，我们应该团结在一起，用正确的方法治疗生病的地球，执行气候变迁调试，减缓地球暖化危机。因此，本人郑重呼吁，支持联合国气候大会方针，团结起来，一起行动，运用对的、没有副作用的方法，完成改善地球暖化的任务，终止地球危机，还给后代子孙一片净土。
As we are currently facing a climate emergency, the fate of our planet is in our hands. The JW Eco-Techology team is dedicated to promoting unity and adapting effective methods to heal our planet. Our goal is to implement strategies for adapting to climate change, aiming to lessen the crisis of global warming. Aligned with the COP28 objectives, I stress the need for unity and collective action, using the right methods and panelist tools. JW Eco-Techology, recognized for his safe approach, is committed to improving global warming conditions, ending the crisis, and ensuring a clean earth for future generations.
本场活动，我们非常荣幸邀请到台湾地球科学之父汪中和研究员，为我们带来气候变迁始末、气候暖化的呼吁。再来就是由台湾史上唯一一生致力气候环境教育及推动社会公平、 绿色经济发展的气候勇士陈文茜女士的报告。
In this event, we are privileged to have Dr. Zhonghe Wang, a respected figure in earth science from Taiwan, who will share his knowledge on the origins and solutions to climate change, emphasizing the urgency of addressing climate warming. Next, we will hear from Mr. Chen, Chen, a dedicated climate advocate from Taiwan, focusing on climate education, social justice, and green economic growth. Her insight will be presented in a video lasting 1 minute and 36 seconds.
请播放影片。
My name is Jiu-Wen, Adjunct Research Fellow of the Institute of Earth Sciences, Academia Sinica. I have done research on climate change. Today, I would like to share with you about the current status of climate warming in 2023. As the Secretary General of the United Nations indicates, the 2023 is a year of climate boiling, with global temperatures, sea temperatures setting record for the highest and the sea ice area lowest respectively. From June to October, the monthly average temperature hit the highest monthly value in meteorological records for 5 consecutive months, the hottest year since meteorological records began in 2023. In this temperature versus age graph, we can see the long-term trend is rising with higher temperatures. However, for 2023, the average temperature is expected to cross the 1.5 degree Celsius threshold of the Paris Climate Agreement for the first time. This is the history of our climate change. From the recent study of Dr. James Hansen and his team, he indicated due to the reduction of suspended particles in the atmosphere, warming is accelerated and will exceed 2 degrees Celsius before 2050. Like the graphs showing, this is the 2023, and this is the 2 degree threshold. We will cross it if we do nothing about it. It is a very scary future for our world. The consequences of global warming are dangerous. First, high temperatures, heat waves, and the thunderstorms are becoming more frequent. The hydrological cycle tends to become extreme. Heavy rains and droughts occur alternatively. More strong typhoons will bring terrible floods and storm surges along the coast. Earthquakes and volcanic activities are gradually increasing and intensifying. Finally, polar ice sheets can melt, and sea levels continue to rise for hundreds of years. Recent report of the Technical Dialogue of Global Stocktake indicates the current policies of countries around the world are far from achieving the goal of curbing global warming to no more than 2 degrees Celsius and more carbon reduction. Actions need to be taken at all levels. For every country in the world, national responses to climate warming must in line with international net zero carbon reduction. Second, we have to maintain a safe food system. We have to provide stable and sufficient energy. We have to provide safe water resources. Finally, we have to push resilient and disaster-proof land planning. This is the cornerstone of all the nations in the world. Climate warming is a systematic problem that far exceeds previous environmental protection issues. It requires the promotion of extensive government-led innovation and reform, and requires the active participation of everyone. At the action level, JW Eco-Techology can provide comprehensive solutions, so don't miss it. The Earth is facing a profound crisis of global warming. We can no longer waste time and must act proactively as soon as possible to save the ecological health of the Earth and the sustainable survival of all mankind. Thank you for your attention.
您好，我的名字叫做陈文茜。2005年开始，我在台湾有一个节目 CC World News， 它开始于2005年的9月3号，那个时间点就是美国发生 Katrina。这18年来，我们只要有任何的气候变迁大会，除了 COVID 那几年之外，我们年年都参与。今年 COP28， 我们的记者在现场。我个人的身体的因素，我不能够到杜拜现场来，但是我知道，所有在这里的人，你们都不是为了你们自己，你们在想的是一个高于人类和平更崇高的一个理想。我只能够向你们表示深深的敬意。这个世界是留给后代的，不是让我们来毁灭它的。全球暖化是人类比和平更重要的议题，比战争更可怕的摧毁。那个大屠杀不会只在加沙，那个大屠杀不会只在 Ukraine， 不会只在叙利亚，那个大屠杀是全面性的，所有地球的大屠杀。我们所有的人一起努力，谢谢你。我是陈文茜 ，CC World News， 拜拜。
非常感谢汪博士及陈女士、陈博士的精彩1分36秒的呼吁。为表达感谢这些年来全球各界关心 JW 生态工法的支持者及各国合作伙伴们，以支持 JW 生态工法的气候勇士们，我们特别剪辑近年来 JW 生态工法团队为发烧的地球的未来所做的努力及执行成果，以未来展望。
Many thanks for the insights from Dr. Zhonghe Wang and Ms. CC Chen for their insight. To show our appreciation to the global community and their support for JW Eco-Techology, as well as our international partners and climate warriors who have stood by us, we have created a special video highlighting the recent efforts of the JW Eco-Techology team for our planet's future, including achievement and vision ahead.
请放影片。 我们是 COP21 既连续参与气候大会，并提出 JW 生态工法。它被誉为改善地球暖化的关键技术。气候变迁已成常态，气候紧急时代已经来临。水不只是台湾不能忍的问题，更是全球共同面临的挑战。
No water, no future.
We are targeting innovation that help solve problems.
应用JOOSI生态工法来达成暴雨资源化、城市水银行。
今天我们再次聚集众人的力量，以改变契机为主题，从观念到实务进行改变，从水资源到永续能源进行整合，以正确的方式进行气候变迁的调试。
We, the participants of this forum, resolve to promote JW Eco-Technology to achieve the 2050 carbon neutrality goal and thus provide a chance for the crisis-ridden climate. 我们在今天世界地球日再次举办2023气候紧急行动国际论坛系列3真诚行动，改变成真。
This year's so very important subjects, namely net zero emissions, sponge cities, education, and green economy.
Extreme weather episodes such as floods and droughts are more frequent due to global warming.
We need to adopt a comprehensive approach that includes not only nature-based solutions.
Sponge city construction is now gaining currency in solving the issue of recurrent flood disasters, climate change scenarios that happen due to global warming.
正式邀请全球各界气候勇士及见证者，以真诚务实的行动，以成效展现成果，拯救地球不再只是口号。
And we must work together.
Together, we can protect our planet.
Creating a brighter and more hopeful future for all. 众多实际及科学论文证明，这套生态工法的确有助于环境，且没有任何副作用。这套生态工法受邀于大会 UNFCCC 全球盘查活动中展示，作为全球环境及气候变迁问题的具体解决方案。这套生态工法是联合国2023水事会议急于寻求的破局者解决方案，而这正是全球所迫切需要的。
非常感谢大家的欣赏。最后，我希望大家可以把这一段影片带回你的故乡，用行动修复环境，并创造绿色经济。
Thank you for the watching, and we hope everyone can take this video back to your hometown and take action to repair the environment and create a green economy.
女士、先生们，非常感谢大家参与由 JW 生态工华团队所带来的前半场活动。昨天的团结，加上今天的行动，我们深深相信，这将呈现在我们共同未来的成功与希望。我要在这里感谢这10年来来自全球超过1000个单位唯一指定 JW 生态工华技术，有1000多个工程的实际验证，受到极大的肯定，因此吸引众多国际金融机构的支持，以提出投资邀请。
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining the first part of our event held by the JW Eco-Techology team. We think that uniting in the past and acting together will make our future even more successful and hopeful. Now, I would like to say thank you for the support from during the last 10 years. Over 1,000 groups around the world has used JW Eco-Techology. And this many projects has been a huge success, and people knows about them. This shows our technology is very awesome and great.
如亚洲开发银行等大型国际金融银行组织，相信有国际金融组织的投入 JW 生态工华，可以更快速地在全球获得发展，也可为合作伙伴们及当地创造无限商机。因此，本人诚心邀请大家参与 JW 生态工华的行列，团结起来。
Because of this, many big financial groups like the Asian development banks are interested in us and actually invested in us, in our project. We think that with the help from these big funds and groups, JW Eco-Techology can grow faster worldwide and make lots of chances for our partners and places we work in. So we invite you all to join JW Eco-Techology. Let's work together.
接下来，我们要把麦克风交还给我们主持人 Axel， 为我们带来更精彩的下半场。Thank you.
Now we'll give the microphone to our host, Axel, for the next even more exciting part of our event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's quite a challenge to be even more exciting than what you presented. But before we start with the next presentation, I wanted to ask if there are any direct questions to Mr. Chen, and Jerome could translate if you put them in English. We have a microphone. Any direct questions or comments? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So then let me sit over there. So for the second part of our event, I want to give some short introduction into Client 2, which is an international partnership for sustainable innovations. It's a funding program from the German Ministry for Education and Research, and we will learn about 2 projects that are working under this funding measure. And as I said, it is embedded in a framework program that is called Research for Sustainability of the German Federal Ministry for Education and Research. The German abbreviation is FONA, so you see the logo here. And the strategic orientation is that the funded project should help to implement the Sustainable Development Goals. There are projects that deal more with biodiversity issues, so they would work for SDG 15, Life on Land. But today we will concentrate on projects that deal with SDG 13, climate action, and specifically with SDG 7 on clean and affordable energy. So for the background a bit, the strategy behind the funding measure Client 2 is that it aims to support international partnerships which select newly industrializing and developing countries in the areas of climate and environment protection. So each project is a team of people from Germany and from another country, at least one country. Sometimes it's even more countries in one project. Client 2 is funding joint research and development projects that are carried out by research institutions. Of course, you have scientific partners, but you also have partners from the private sector. So it's adapted projects that look for concrete solutions. It's not a purely scientific funding program. It's for adapted projects, and of course, local stakeholders live in these countries where the projects are implemented are part of the project teams as well. So it's always a research partner, a private partner, and the local partners in the country where the projects are implemented. And as I said, it supports demand-oriented collaborations to generate prototypic solutions. So it's a worldwide program, so to say. You see that projects are implemented in different regions of the world. And with the logos on the left side, you see what areas what type of projects these are for climate protection, energy efficiency, adaptation to climate change, land management, sustainable energy systems, how to deal with natural hazards. And we just heard in the presentations that these hazards are becoming more frequent and worse and worse with climate warming. And we have projects for resource efficiency and circular economy, and also for water management. And you see that, that there are projects in very different world regions, and today we will concentrate on two projects, one taking place in the Middle East in Jordan, and one in Western Africa in Ghana. And the project types are collaborative projects that try to implement innovative, sustainable technologies, products, services, system solutions. They normally run for a period of 3 years. The funding project has several phases, so we also had projects that got a second phase. When the first 3 years were successful, they could go on with another 3 years. The funding measure has also created or established so-called regional project offices in different parts of the world. There was one for Southeast Asia based in Vietnam, there was one in China, and there is one in Central Asia and Kazakhstan, where people help to try to coordinate between the projects of this funding measure and other projects that go on also in the same region, so that not everybody is doing just their particular thing, not knowing of each other what others are doing, but trying to network. And this funding measure is accompanied by a so-called science policy interface, and this is what we're doing here now. We try to link the results and the innovations of these projects to international environmental conventions. We do that with the Convention on Biological Diversity, the CBD. We do that also with the Convention to Combat Desertification, the UN CCD, and with what we're doing here now today, side events at Climate COP meetings. So And there is a scientific coordination project based in Germany that organizes annual conferences, networking opportunities, and the website of the whole program, which here you see the address where you can find it, BMBF, that's the short form of our ministry, and then dash client, which is the name of the program, and .de, that's for Germany. So with that, we will dive deeper into 2 projects in more detail. And the first one is JOOSI. This abbreviation stands for Jordan, the country of Jordan, optimizing solar steam for industry. And it's my pleasure to have Harry Sayannos here, one of the implementing project partners, who will present the project for you. And secondly, we will have the project EnerSHelF, meaning energy supply for healthcare facilities in Ghana. And we have Professor Stefanie Meilinger and Professor Kata Bender already online. I see them on this screen here. They will join in after Harry has presented JOOSI. So, and here you again see the address. So, Harry, you can just open your presentation, and then you have, so we just swap again.
Fantastic, thank you. Sorry, did you know where we find it?
It should be open already.
Is it? It's neither of these two.
Close this one.
It's closed. It's not this one, is it?
No. Close this one. And put this one further down. And it should be here.
Also diese, genau, okay, danke. There we go. There we go.
So, yeah, it's on the screen.
Fantastic.
Sorry for that.
Okay. Okay, so thank you, Axel, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for taking the time to turn up. I don't think I have to state how much of a privilege it is for us to present our project, the project JOOSI, here at COP28, let alone our solution for decarbonizing industries and therefore accelerating the energy transition. Before I get started, I think it's important to state out that there's been some absolutely fascinating discussions and presentations that have been going on with relation to financing hydrogen and the electrification that's required in order to meet these goals. But unfortunately, there's very little emphasis that is still being directed onto the elephant in the room, and that is first and foremost heat. Half of the energy demand that we're looking for here is actually coming in the form of heat, which is completely overlooked, and they have this ridiculous proposition that we should electrify all of it, which just doesn't make sense when we have so much of it already available. So that is what Industrial Solar, our company, is trying to address. For the past 15 years, we have been based out of Freiburg, and that is due to our close ties and where we originated as a spin-off from Fraunhofer. Originally, as we started as a technology provider of the Fresnel collector, which is something we will get into very shortly. Anyone who works in renewables notice very quickly that there isn't a one-solution-fits-all here. And for that reason in particular, we've had to broaden our portfolio in order to meet this growing demand through investing in further other technologies and other services to meet this. And nowadays, we have positioned ourselves as a one-stop shop for industrial customers, just for this purpose. The second issue I wanted to bring up then, once we looked directly at heating, is also at the industrial sector, which is very much overlooked. Currently, the industrial sector is actually the largest lagger with regards to the energy transition. And whilst there's been some emphasis again on the electrification, I would divert back to the heating, because over 75% of this industrial energy demand actually comes in the form of heat. So when there's so much available, this is something that we're this sector coupling is exactly where we're focusing on. And especially if you start looking at this Sunbelt region where there's huge manufacturing powerhouses, Jordan being one of them, this is where we are furthermore pushing and promoting our Fresnel collector. So, in short, the Fresnel collector is a modular concentrating solar thermal collector that consists of 11 uniaxially tracked mirrors spread across the base. Now, these mirrors are rotating individually to follow the sun's trajectory and redirect the sunlight to the focal point. So you can see this nicely described in the animation on, above. And at the top on this focal point, we've got then one receiver, which is where the heat transfer fluid passes through, and it's uncovered by a secondary receiver, a secondary mirror, which not only protects the receiver itself, but also increases the efficiency by redirecting the dissipated light back to this focal point. This absorber tube, which is in the focal point, is able to withstand pressures of up to 120 bar, which allows us to provide hot pressurized water to the client, if not steam, which is what we are mostly working with here in our applications. And above that, when we start getting to temperatures about 250, 300 degrees Celsius, that's when we start applying thermal oil as well. But essentially, this is all dependent on the client's request here. It's completely flexible and adaptable depending on what the industrial process requires. For those who are familiar also with industrial applications, then a lot of these industry zones are very compact and tight in space, and that is one of the biggest obstacles for renewables in general, be it wind or PV. Because we are able to separate these mirrors into 11 and concentrate them on the base, we managed to achieve a higher space efficiency up to 65%. And that you'll be able to see in our reference photos there. It is actually, these modules are very tight and close together. On top of that, due to the A-frame and the structure that we have designed it to, we were able to withstand very high wind speed capacities, and we're operating up to 100 kilometers an hour, so even in heavy breezes or light storms. And there is a good weight distribution at 27 kilograms per meter square. So all these components together allows us to optimize the design, be it on the ground or on the roof, depending on what the client has and what their limitations are. And so this is one of our our favorite reference projects that we have now out in Jordan. We've actually got two of my colleagues down there, up there right now, just outside of Amman. And over 6 years ago, we installed this Fresnel collector with a capacity of 705 kilowatts, which is producing saturated steam at 225 degrees Celsius. This has also been oversized in this case in order to be coupled with an absorption chiller so that when there is overproduction, instead of our rationale to balance it in this case was by coupling it to an absorption chiller to provide space cooling in the mines. And in that way, none of the energy is actually being dumped. And so this is where we decided to, we noticed that we were always having our hearts and our roots in research. This is where we noticed that we could be, we would be applying this JOOSI project at JTI. And in this case, because we're focusing on saturated steam production, having a technology niche within direct steam generation, we had applied in order to advance this steam production in the absorber tube, where currently there is two-phase flow happening. We want to understand furthermore what is actually going on in there between the water and this steam mixture. So we do that together with in Germany, DLR, the Deutsche Zentrum für Luft- und Raumfahrt, and the HZDR, Helmut Zentrum für Dresden-Rossendorf. Together then, of course, with the client, JTI, and as well as many other NGOs and universities across Jordan to further disseminate and exploit the results further. So the JOOSI project consists of several objectives. I already mentioned gaining the insight into the two-phase flow that is going on at the Fresnel collector in industry. And further, once we start getting this better data and this accurate data, we're then able to further improve the current thermal calculation models which we are using to design and further more projects in the future. And that is currently the stage that we are in. Hopefully, the goal, once we actually achieve all this data, is that we'd have a better understanding into its weaknesses, understanding the place for optimization, and then manage to actually detect the faults and these weaknesses in real time. On the dissemination side of this project, we are building this know-how and spreading it with academic and public institutions, such as my colleagues are doing currently in Jordan, and meet out with further industries to see where we can replicate this to its best abilities. So to understand the two-phase flow, what our project partners at the EnerSHelF Centrum in Dresden have actually installed is this wire mesh sensor. And this neat little animation that you can see over here, you can tell the difference of where there is actually where the water is flowing through, and it is uniformly being created into steam constantly. We're able to monitor this flow, depending whether it's a laminar or turbulent flow, stratified or wavy annular, as you can tell. And then from this data then, in real time, we can then optimize whether it is the focusing of the mirrors to further heat up or the mass flow through the balance of plant and the control system that we have. Traditionally, we always had, obviously we had some form of metering and monitoring, and we used, but that was only locally this data that was available, and we would have to archive this in hard disks and retrieve it in intervals. Now, through this, after we've integrated this system, we're able to have this state-of-the-art logging system where we can monitor the system in real time, and utilizing past knowledge then and past readings, we're able to improve our fault detection in order to plan in advance and ahead for that. And so this is a typical reading that we would be getting then shown on Grafana. And whilst there's quite a lot of information to unpack here, I think the important thing what I want you all to take away from here is that if you can look at the steam flow. So industries are mostly interested in to understand how much steam they are actually getting here. And that is solely, that's the blue, what you can see in the blue line in batch processes. And this is being monitored or regulated only based on the pressure control, which is in the green line. And all of this is happening irregardless whilst at the same time maintaining the same temperature, which you can see in red, regardless of the time of the day or the sun's trajectory, which you can see in the orange line. So through all of this monitoring system, through the balance of plant and the control system that we have, we are able to, we're letting our technology become demand-driven as opposed to supply-driven, which is a huge obstacle for renewable technologies, this one nonetheless. And furthermore, with regards to project dissemination here, we are constantly in contact with the German Jordanian University in Amman, along with other students there, to further disseminate these results and pass them forward. We are participating in national and international conferences, COP28 not being an exception to that. And we're conducting regular workshops with our industrial partners. So only last October did we have our partners from Jordan over in Germany, where we had worked with closely. So thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much for this insight in this new and obviously very efficient technology. Are there any questions to Harry? Yes, Anke, please.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a very interesting project because it addresses this key problem of heat in industry. And of course, for the spreading, like it's very new scientific research, I understand, but nevertheless, I have the question in relation to the cost, whether you can say something in relation to the costs you have for the heat produced in that system.
Thank you very much. It's always something that a question that we are getting from clients, so it's 100% expected. The hard answer that I have to get every time we get this question is that it is case by case. Unfortunately, for component manufacturers of PV, they will always sell you a module. We sell a solution here because it's not. We don't have. This isn't an in-house product which we design, which we produce and ship over. We construct the full EPC. So it depends completely on the size of the collector and which site of economies of scale are we looking at. It depends on the installation. If we are looking at industrial hangars, it increases the cost significantly on the substructure, that we have to reinforce the roof. The local prices, we have about 20 to 30% local value because most of it is steel and concrete for foundations and the structure. So it does unfortunately depend. I can tell you roughly if we exclude the absorption chiller, this project in Jordan, when we did construct it 6 years ago, cost slightly over €1 million. But it's on a case-by-case basis, unfortunately.
Thank you. More questions? If this is not the case, then we would hear from the second project. Thank you again, Ari.
Thank you.
So I can see our two online speakers on the screen, and I hope they can hear what we have said so far. I'm trying to open your presentation now, which should be this one. So, and then the technicians have to advise me if we can hear our speakers, and they tell me when I should press the next slide. So,
okay.
We can hear you. Great. So I hand over to you, either Katja or Stefanie, who wants to begin.
Katja will start. Hello. Hello. So, good day from Germany. And can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Yes, we
Excellent.
Can hear you perfectly well.
So my colleague Stefanie and I are extremely honored to have the opportunity today to present our EnerSHelF project. And we also would like to thank Dr. Paulsch, Axel, and all partners for making this possible. So if you could just show the next slide, please. Yes. Our project actually zooms in on the so-called EnerSHelF nexus. Of course, access to energy is one essential component of the SDGs, but access to health is another essential component. And in addition to that, both are also strongly interrelated. So for one, energy and individual health is strongly related. For example, via harmful emissions that harm individual health. But our project actually addresses the second link, and that is the link between energy and the effective delivery of health services. It is easy to imagine that, of course, energy is essential for providing health services. Just think of storing medication, vaccination, or running equipment, sterilization, doing surgeries. So without energy, it is very difficult to provide effective health services. in addition to that, so it's important to develop solutions that provide a sustainable energy supply for health services. But in addition to that, technological solutions need to be applied to the specific context. That might relate to environmental conditions, but also might relate to socio-economic conditions. And this is a background which provides the frame for our entire project. And if you could show the next slide, please. Next, yes, thank you. So our project focused on Ghana, as you were already mentioning, Axel. And in Ghana, it is like in many lower middle income countries that access to energy is restricted. And in Ghana, many health facilities, specifically in rural areas, but not only in rural areas, do not have sufficient access to energy. So our project asked if and under what conditions PV solutions could be a solution for health facilities in Ghana. But also keeping in mind that PV has been introduced in Ghana in the 90s, so quite some time ago, and until today the diffusion is quite low. So the project was financed, of course, by the Ministry of Education and Research in Germany. We closed the project in March this year. But now the important part, even though it's only the two of us presenting today, this project has been a collaborative effort among 10 German and Ghanaian partners. And I don't want to go through the entire list of all partners, that would take some time, but I would like to take a few seconds to mention the Ghanaian partners. So we collaborated with the Nkrumah University in Kumasi and with the University for Development Studies in Tamale. And we also cooperated with the SDD UBITS in VA. And in addition to that, we work together with 3 health facilities in different parts of Ghana. And now we are going to present the results. So we selected a few main results because it was quite a comprehensive project, and I will hand over to my colleague Stefanie now.
Yeah, hello everybody. What we did was actually we installed measurement equipment at 3 health facilities in Ghana, including load measurements, which allowed to really understand the electricity need of health facilities, because there are very few such measurements up to now. And so we actually don't know exactly how much electricity is needed in different types of health facilities. We also installed measurement equipment for solar irradiance. So we installed 3 weather stations at the 3 example sites, because weather and sun is actually much influencing the electricity production by PV. And forecasting is important to run the systems adequately. So in order to improve forecasting systems, you need more measurements of solar irradiance, especially in regions where the weather system is different from what normal weather prediction models have in there. And in northern Ghana, it's dust. It's the Hamartan system, which produces a lot of desert dust, influencing solar energy availability. So the 3 sites where we actually installed these measurements was the St. Michael's Hospital in Kumasi, which is in the middle towards the south of Ghana. The Kologo Health Center, which was a small installation, which is seen on the top side, the energy container that we installed. And below the picture shows the health facility. There is a PV hybrid power system consisting of 7.2 kilowatt peak of PV modules and lithium-ion batteries, and also an air conditioning grid and a grid connection. And at this place, there is no genset. The third site was south of Ghana, where we have different climatic conditions compared to the north. And this was the St. Dominic's Hospital in Akwatia, where colleagues from the University of Cologne already installed a PV installation a couple of years ago. That's the roof you see on the third pictures if you go top down. It's 2 PV grid systems, grid integrated systems, integrated with 25 kilowatt peak systems since November 2015 and 65 kilowatt peak since November 2016. And those are connected to emergency diesel generators, and there is no batteries. So with these measurements, we provide a unique data set which can allow researchers to improve these systems. Next slide, please. So what we did with this data, we improved planning tools, especially dedicated to health facilities in Ghana. We also developed a model predictive control for these systems using energy meteorological data, cloud data with AI algorithms, and a significant reduction of diesel could be due to this type of algorithms, which improves the overall energy reliability, which is very, very crucial for the health sector. In the system, our partner from Rhein-Main is also produced a planning tool to connect health facilities as a starting point for energy development, integrated in small communities which are not connected to the grid yet, and grid planning in order to use electrification at health facilities as a starting point for electrification of remote areas and to integrate those areas to the grid. Those are the maps that you see down there, link given here. Now I give to Katja, give the economic part of the project.
So next slide. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So actually, the project team was quite interdisciplinary. We did have engineers, physicists, meteorologists, and economists and social scientists. So in addition to the technical question, we also ask what are the socio-economic conditions that would facilitate or hinder the diffusion of PV solutions? And for this, for one, we did a market analysis. So we tried to identify those factors that actually influence health facilities' decisions to switch to PV-based solutions. And we also conducted some interviews with Ghanaian and German business who were involved in the PV sector or who opted out. So, and what you see here are the main results from a comprehensive survey we conducted with health facilities. We interviewed 200 health facilities, or almost 200 health facilities in 6 regions in Ghana. And first of all, actually, we found that also from the perspective of health facilities, improved access to energy really could improve their capacity to offer health services. And also important, we find that there is no status quo bias. That means that actually health facilities would be open to change if they would see a better solution. So, and not stick to the situation you have, but change. So, also, what was most preferred, we presented different options and asked the health facilities to choose, and we always included some trade-offs so that the choice was not so easy. But what came clearly out was that hybrid systems that combine supply from the grid with PV energy were the preferred solutions. So that is nice, but still one can ask then why are health facilities not switching to PV-based solutions? And so very important there were concerns concerning the cost, the investment cost, but also the running annual cost. But then again, we also found out that the running, the average annual or monthly costs were strongly overestimated, so that there was an information gap. And also what prevented health facilities to opt for PV-based solution was that they were afraid or were not sure if they could get effective or maintenance or the maintenance required in order to run the systems properly. So our main key messages were that in order to improve the diffusion of PV-based energy solutions in Ghana, it would be important to increase awareness and also provide information about the actual cost of these systems, that yes, you have the investment cost, but then the monthly costs are lower than compared to what you pay for power from the grid. Secondly, because the investment costs are not, it's not possible for those health facilities to bear the investment cost. There must be sort of innovative financing solutions that could facilitate the switch from grid-based to a hybrid system for health facilities. And also it would be important to have flexible PV-based energy solutions so that really fit to the different sizes of the health facilities, because the health facilities differ strongly in size throughout Ghana and also within one given region. So next slide, please. Also, I just want to briefly show this slide because we really selected a few main results. What we also did, we were looking at the political economy environment, mapping stakeholders involved at the political level and also interviewing around 20 stakeholders from the Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Services, also private sector companies, energy companies, to find out about barriers or facilitating factors that could drive institutional change. And and the findings were a bit mixed. There were some factors which really provided a momentum for PV-based energy solution, power prices for one, but also the decreasing prices for PV energy solutions. Also the international environment played a role. So it was often referred to the SDGs, also to the new WHO call to action on health and energy. So that was something that was cited by policymakers. But at the same time, there are past dependency in the energy sectors, specifically when it comes to hydro and thermal energies. But also quite recently, there have been new oil and gas resources discovered in Ghana, and also against the current socio-economic or economic crisis in Ghana, the exploitation of these resources is also relevant for Ghanaian policymakers from an economic point of view, and this is sort of presenting a barrier to change. So next slide, please, and I hand over to my colleague again.
Yeah, to conclude, well, what did we learn during the project? There is a better understanding now after the project of the political economy of sustainable energy transition in Ghana's health and energy sector, which have to come together. I think we also explored health facility demand and the willingness to adopt hybrid solar power system. This is also a big achievement within Ghana and the two areas, policy areas, health and energy. We installed a PV hybrid power system north of Ghana, consisting of 7.2 kilowatt peak of PV modules and about 10 kilowatt at the end of lithium battery power. And we integrated that into the grid. And this is a site that is actually taken up as well by the Ghana Health Service, as well as by universities, in order to learn what is important with these systems and how to care about them, and really to understand the energy production and needs related to that. We installed 3 weather stations, which are also part of the weather service right now, measurement equipment, which is still in place and is also used by the academic community within Ghana, but also within West Africa. We developed a forecast-based control algorithm, which can also be used in other areas, which optimized the systems leads to savings in diesel and energy efficiency, and therefore reduces the environmental impacts. And we published a big amount of scientific results, and we can see that this already starts having an impact also on research questions in the energy health sector related to solar energy. And if you are interested in the subject, please visit our website, www.enershelf.de, where we provide a lot of additional information for the project, and also have a lot of links to already published documentation of the project. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Katja and Stefanie, for presenting this project. And I found it quite interesting that it's not only investigating the technical opportunities there, but also the socio-economic situation and the willingness of partners to do or not to do specific steps that would be technically feasible. Are there any questions in the audience to this? We have a few more minutes that we can spend with questions and answers to the EnerSHelf project. Yes, please. There's a microphone coming to you.
Hi, Jane Hotchkiss. I'm here with Energy for the Common Good in the US. We work on fusion, but I've had a long history in PV and wind. And we're working specifically in very similar fashion, talking to communities and individuals, albeit not in healthcare. I'm curious to know whether it was fear of the lack of storage, the lack of the intermittency of potentially a PV system, or something that, or lack of familiarity with how that system would actually work for the individual location, or whether it was something else, something more socially discussed.
From the audience, and do you want to, who wants to answer or give a remark?
I could,
yeah,
well,
you start and I...
I think what was lacking compared to what usually is known is actually the energy demand in hospitals and how it changes per day, and also the differences between typical curves from hospitals compared to small small-scale health facilities. And to implement it in the country also makes a big difference, because people have to learn how to monitor it, how to deal with it, how to maintain it. And it's very good if this is not just put there and then left alone, but if there is also a scientific support after the project. Because what we, like last week, we got, for instance, the information that they turned off the climate conditioning, which is really bad for the batteries. And then I got reports that the batteries are not lasting very long. And to have somebody to go back and to explain why this is important, I think is a real benefit in this type of interaction. So that's from the technical point of view. I think there's also a lot of things we learned from the economic point of view, but maybe Katja wants to answer it.
Okay. Yeah. One main point was the fear that once you have the system installed, it is not possible to get proper maintenance services. So that was one of the key factors, but also just as mentioned, the investment costs, because we interviewed rather small private health facilities. So, and there were no flexible credit lines or sort of subsidized interest with credit lines with lower interest rates, so, or any other option, so financing options. So this was another barrier. And yeah, and probably also related to this is that in the mind of many interviewed health facilities, so it was a standardized survey, there was still this picture, oh, PV, that's super expensive. So, and our energy bill would actually increase. So, and that is something which might be easily addressed, but well, developing financing options for investing in those PV solutions might be a bit more difficult.
And maybe let me add one sentence with regard to forecasting solar resources. What was missing was good tools to predict solar resources considering aerosol. There are models, but they are not tuned to, or they were not tuned to Ghana and to West Africa. And there was quite some improvement and also much more attention now on the role of aerosols for solar predictions in this specific area that we could actually achieve with the project.
Thank you very much. I hope this answered your questions, or at least partly. Yeah, Anke, please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry for coming in again. You compared these two, or you installed two different systems. One system with the battery storage and one system with the diesel generator. And clearly from a climate point of view, I think everybody knows that the PV with the battery storage would be the better system than the diesel generators. But how did it look like from the point of view of adoption and acceptance in the countries, or like the practicalities you were investigating? How did these two systems compare?
Well, in general, for health system, I think the situation is such that they really need energy security, and with a purely solar system and a Hamartan situation where you have 2 weeks of a reduction of PV power of half, it's a question if people really want to go that way. And the interviews actually showed that people would prefer grid-integrated solar systems in the health sector. That's what their preferred solution was. And the environmental impact actually compared the diesel and the grid integration in Ghana is not such a big difference because of the because in the grid even you have quite some amount of fossil fuels. Even so, they have the big hydro dam which they use, and hydropower. Still, they also use fossil fuels in order to serve their electricity, and whereas you could actually save about 80% to 25 to 80% of the diesel, the grid integration for these situations where you really need additional electricity would not make such a big difference. So I think for acceptance, it's probably the way to go: grid integrated solar systems, and you will save a lot. And also to use the gensets that are already there, because you have these 2 weeks during during the year where you would have to really increase the battery systems extremely, and this is a question then of economic feasibility and acceptance.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Do I see any other question? Yes, please, over here.
Hi, I'm Delaney. I'm a JD and PhD student from the University of Miami in the United States. This question is actually for Harry about the JOOSI project, if that's okay. So I am from Miami, Florida, born and raised, very big city, and we're kind of trying to get more solar in that city. But in looking at the Fensel collector, if I said that right, it's really big. So how do you envision kind of like using this technology in cities, if it's possible, or if you've already done it?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. It's absolutely possible. I mean, ours had been sized by 7 meters in width and 4.06 meters in length, solely due to the our target market being the industrial processes. There are other Fresnel suppliers here or up in Europe who either do smaller, more compact systems which they can ship out, and that would be, I think, highly more attractive in your situation. Or if you look at the other side, if we're looking instead at the power plant commercial production, when you start looking at coupling it with steam turbines for electricity production, but then you have to start creating these bigger Fresnel collectors instead. I don't want to get your hopes up too much when you're looking at Miami, because unfortunately let's say the climate conditions with hurricanes around the Miami area would not be too favorable for these technologies. So I do regret that.
Why would that be?
It'll blow it off the roof.
Blown off the roof.
Yeah. Is that PV or these large PVs? Probably. More than the Fresnel, at least.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions, remarks? Oh, yeah, of course.
I had actually a point. I wanted to go back to the first question, which was asked maybe half an hour ago, and I realized how daunting my response was with regards, because many of us are, and it's completely understandable, looking at the capex as an investment. And this is one thing we're talking about frequently here with regards to financing these technologies. So 1 million sounds like a lot for a 700 kilowatt capacity, but I think what's really interesting, particularly, is when we started looking at the levelized costs and how much. I mentioned that we had coupled it with an absorption cheddar, clearly just to make sure that we're not dumping any of that energy and are wasting. So basically, the more you use out of the technology, the more you get out of it, the more you save. And when I start quoting, and we're looking actively here in the MENA region for these collectors, when we start designing them higher than 1-2 megawatts, we are able, especially in these environments, to reach levelized costs about 25 to 30 euros per megawatt hour. So I'd rather look at that as an indicator as opposed to the initial investment.
Okay, thank you. You don't see that from the audience, but here is a clock ticking backwards, and it jumped from green to red now, indicating that there's only 4 minutes left. So if there is one more question, we could take it. If this is not the case, I would say thanks a lot for being with us this afternoon in this event, and I thank our panelists here and our panelists online, and I hope you would have some food for thoughts, what solutions could help us to deal with the climate crisis. And I hope you enjoyed the rest of it's just started, of the conference, and let's hope that we keep COP28 as a milestone of success in the histories of this convention. Thanks a lot for being here.